How's it going, everyone? Hope you're having a great day. We're going to check out these clips and see what we think of them.
Nice to be on CNN. Hello to all your viewers. I resent you calling me a denier. That is a word meant to put me down. I'm a skeptic about climate change, and I want to make it darn clear Mr. Kenny's not a scientist. I am. He's the CEO of the Weather Channel now. I was the founder of the Weather Channel, not the co-founder.
And I'm glad you did, because I am addicted to the Weather Channel. I watch a lot of cable news.
Now, hold on just a minute. I'm not done. And CNN has taken a very strong position on global warming that it is a consensus. Well, there is no consensus in science. Science isn't a vote. Science is about facts. And if you get down to the hard, cold facts, there's no question about it. Climate change is not happening. There is no significant man-made global warming now. There hasn't been any in the past, and there's no reason to expect any in the future. There's a whole lot of baloney. It has become a big political point of the Democratic Party and part of their platform, and I regret it's become political instead of scientific. The science is on my side.
Yeah, I mean, the global warming they talk about, I don't believe for a second. I think it's about control, mainly. I mean, there are some financial things in it as well, but I think it's about control. You know, they don't, you know, they're the whole carbon, cows farting, you know, all that. I mean, most carbon, I mean, if they want to talk about cows, you know, letting it off, I mean, humans let it off too. I mean, we need carbon for plants to grow and, you know, for oxygen. And I mean, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I think it's just a way to eventually lead to control, even more control. Yeah, I forgot what else I was going to say. So I'll play the next one.
It was on December 14th, 1947, the National Security Council issued its first top secret orders to the CIA. The CIA set out to beat the Reds in the Italian word TikTok doesn't allow, set for April 1948. And yes, let's just all admire the irony of how in a democracy in America, we can't use that word in our media or else we'll get censored. That's great. But back then, the CIA didn't really have an official budget and they didn't have a bunch of money. They just had a bunch of friends. So James Forrestal and his good friend Alan Dulles solicited their friends and colleagues from Wall Street and Washington, business people, bankers, and politicians. But it was never enough. So the CIA's first mission ever was to overthrow a government and fix a word I can't say. And to do it, they used money that came from all of their business people, friends, bankers, etc. But they needed more money too. So he convinced Snyder to tap into the exchange stabilization fund set up in the Depression to shore up the value of the dollar. Because who needs to do that anyways? The fund held $200 million that was earmarked for the reconstruction of Europe. And they funneled it into the bank accounts of a bunch of wealthy American citizens, a lot of them Italian Americans. One can only imagine what other organizations all these Italian Americans might have been a part of. They even told the donors to place a special code on their income tax forms alongside their charitable donation, so their CIA donations to help control a government over there was tax deductible. Quote, passing black bags to effect a political injection is not really a terribly attractive thing. No shit, but it worked. Italy's Christian Democrats won by a comfortable margin and formed a government that excluded communists. Good job, CIA. But don't worry, they just did it that one time. They would never do that in modern times. Except for when they did it in Japan and Guatemala and Iran and Indonesia and Vietnam and Laos and Nicaragua and Panama and Chile. I mean, I guess they've done it a few times, but they don't do it anymore. Like, certainly they wouldn't do it in any of these modern governments. But anyways, this book, it's a really good book. This has been my bedtime reading lately. It's called Legacy of Ashes. And Tim worked for the New York Times for a long time, so he's reporting like a mainstream take. But the reason why this is valuable, despite being a mainstream take, like for example, he doesn't acknowledge who actually did the thing to JFK, and he doesn't acknowledge a lot of other things that aren't like publicly disclosed. But what's so great about the book is he has personally dug through probably the most extensive compilation of primary sources of almost anyone about the CIA. This is the text of the book that's like 500 or 600 pages. And then it has 170 pages of primary sources. Okay, technically it's only this many pages because the back is an index, but all of this is him citing his sources. That's insane. And even though he misses all of the things that are horrible about the CIA that were never publicly disclosed, that we only know about because of like leaks or theories, it's still a really valuable book to like read between the lines. Transcripts from the president's office when they're ordering these like operations that weren't supposed to happen. He digs through all of the different congressional hearings. It just like gets you really inside information on what actually happened. And what actually happened is the CIA was basically set up to overthrow governments. And that's basically what they've been doing ever since. And when I started this channel, I didn't plan to talk about the CIA at all because, like, why would you? I thought we were going to be talking about money and the stock market all the time. But, like, if you want to understand how money and the stock market or government or world events works, you kind of need to know about the people that are professionals at controlling the world. So that's all for today. I know I've been off of here for a while. Having internet problems, doing a bunch of remodeling and figuring out my new platforms and new tech. Things are going great. I'm happy. I'm healthy. Don't intend to have any accidents related to water or anything like that anytime soon. And this coming month, I'm going to be on the short form platforms a lot more because I know I've been missing you guys too. Drink your water. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, CIA, I think they're involved in a lot of massive amount of bad things. Definitely overthrowing governments and certain political leaders, ones that they see as not wanting to fall in line with their regime or with their societies and whatnot. But I think they're in much worse than just that. I think, the drug and multiple kinds of trafficking, let's say that. And with the weather, climate change, I think they're using weather manipulation to simulate climate change. I don't, how many so-called natural disasters that's happened recently. Climate change doesn't seem like that would even be a thing to make that many happen. Plus, there's so much proof for weather modification. So many different countries have released articles and videos about it, cloud seeding and whatever else. And there's like hundreds of patents on weather modification devices, earthquake machines. Tesla, Nikola Tesla, didn't he make one, I believe? And I remember a couple of years ago, Elon Musk was supposedly digging tunnels underneath the Los Angeles or something like that. I mean, they're all just full, but it's hard to trust anything that comes out in the media. Like your local media, I believe they'll have some real stories on there, but they're also, they're bought and paid for too. They're owned by the same people. All right, here's the next clip.
As a child are so much weirder than I thought they were going to be when I first started making these videos. After talking with so many of you, there are a few more really weird similarities that a lot of you have in common that I feel compelled to share to see if there's even more people out there who identify with this insane list of things. First and foremost, so many of you are in the military or have family in the military. A lot of these experiences happened on legitimate military bases. A lot of people ended up going into the military or in some sort of special forces or intelligence role after being in the GATE program. And I had one person who is in the NSA currently who said most of the people that she works with were also GATE kids. Also, very specifically, a lot of you work in gun stores. Another super common thing that people kept bringing up is that they have very weird family ties to secret organizations, primarily Freemasonry, but there is a lot of very specific religious cults that are secretly tied in with Freemasonry that people reported their family being in. For some unknown reason, a ton of kids who went through these gifted and talented programs later in life found themselves drawn to the gateway tapes or the gateway experience. A surprising amount of you experienced really insane psychic phenomena and also alien abductions. A lot of them. I feel like at this point, I have to tell you exactly what my opinions are about what GATE program actually is. If you already watched my video on the history of the GATE program, which you can find in the playlist down below, you already know that there is a strong link between these education programs and government programs, namely the CIA. I am of the opinion, for entertainment purposes only, that these programs were designed to find and funnel children that the government thought that they could use in various roles. Although there's a ton of overlap with all of your experiences, one of the reasons why I think that we have a lot of variation in what we went through as children is because there is a lot of variation in what the government may want to use very smart or gifted children in the future. I think that they put us in very specialized classes designed to test us on these abilities and also foster them in us. One of the biggest themes with these GATE programs that is impossible for me to overlook at this point is their fascination with potential psychic abilities and this constant testing of ESP and ability to predict things and see things in a box without looking at it first. Based on everything I've read and all the things that I've heard from you people, I believe that some of the crazier things that the GATE program was designed to do was to find children and harness their ability to do things like remote view, astral project, and sometimes even communicate with non-human intelligence. I think that some people were using children as a sort of medium to communicate with these aliens or demons or whatever you want to call it. I don't really care about the verbiage anymore, but I feel like there was something to this aspect of children before puberty being open up to these higher dimensions and to these more outlandish ways of thinking. And I know that this sounds insane and that I've completely lost my mind, but there are so many unclassified documents regarding real world CIA projects where they were very interested in this sort of thing. And not just interested, they spent billions of dollars investigating these things. Even though it sounds like fantasy, I think that it is important to at least consider the possibility that the government was using at least a portion of these GATE programs throughout the decades to find children and exploit these abilities.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. Do any of you remember anything like that? I mean, I was in the military, but as far as I can remember, I don't remember anything like that. But I don't doubt that the GATE program or those type of things exist. There was something I was going to say about shoot. I lost it. It'll come back to me. Sorry. I'll play another clip.
Designed to convey, but that's not unusual in today because they were able to coin a phrase to seed more information and utilize even what was true for the misinformation. It's starting to flip on that because, as you sort of, I think, were alluding to in recent years, all the things that everybody said was conspiracy is turning out to be true. So that opens the door to how much are they lying to us about. My message to people is you have no idea how much they're hiding from you and trying to mislead you with, and until you understand their language and how they operate, they've got you right where they want you, and it's kind of like being a mushroom, so to speak, and in a way that they keep you pacified and not curious, and you've been prepared to do that all of your life. So if you're wanting to understand how the world works, then you're going to probably do it in phases, and it's going to be difficult. It's eye-opening once you recognize the patterns of what's going on, but it's better to know than not to know, and it's better to make a choice based on informed information than not to make a choice, because no choice is still a choice.
Yep. When you say they, you're referring primarily to the families and the royals that is kind of precede government that we would think about today.
Yeah, it's the invisible ones that work behind the scenes, literally invisible as the spiritual realm in the hierarchy, who the visible ones answer to. So we're going to see the invisible ones become more visible as we get closer to the days of Noah. Read for yourself. And if you're struggling with conflicts, you need to re-examine the approach, because you should be able to make everything sort of fit. And it does if you use Jesus' chronology. Everything fits. And if you understand him as the Jehovah of the Elohim in the Old Testament, where it says Lord or Lord God, that's where he's involved. So now all of those end-time prophecies where those terms are utilized, you know when he's coming back. God gave us a gift of life to choose, and everybody has free choice. We're playing things out through free choice, but God as Alpha Omega, Jesus as Alpha Omega is greater than free choice.
I have a hard time trusting Gary Wayne. I do think there's a lot of truth in what he says, but I think he might be a plant. For one, I mean, it's going to sound kind of weird, but his skin, it doesn't look right. You know what I mean? But also, I know he's talked on several different channels, podcasts about the theory of Cain. Who did Cain marry, right? And he's saying that there might have been a different group created before Adam and Eve. They just weren't in the lineage, right? The right lineage. But that's actually, I can't remember exactly, but I believe that's a Gnostic or pagan belief or satanic belief. One of the three. I can't remember which. I mean, you could say, I mean, really all of them can lead to Satanism because, they're not following Christ, But, anyways, I mean, he says he's read all these different books, right? All these old biblical books, all kinds of different religions. So he would know that in the book of Melchizedek and I believe the book of Jasher or Jubilees, I forget. It says that Cain married his sister. So, I mean, if he's read all these books, he should know that, and plus he should know that the other religions. Man, I'm sorry. I wish I could remember which ones it is that talk about there being humans before Adam and Eve. He would know that that's a different religion, So I just have a hard time trusting him. I think he might be a plant to a certain degree. I think he's probably a Freemason. I read part of his Genesis 6 conspiracy book. I didn't get through all of it. But what I did read, it seemed like there was some nods in it. But I mean, I would have to give it a good read through and actually read through the whole thing. But I don't know. I just don't trust him. What do you guys think?
Well, how about when the energy was free as well? Everything was taken from the atmosphere and drawn into these buildings, to these pylons, and many different things. And it was the aether that powered everything. And one day, the controllers of this world decided to take it away. They reset the population. It was in every country. Just keep watching these photos, and you'll see that everything was conductive. Everything had a way to tap into this energy, whether it be the obelisks, or the towers, or the cathedrals. Everything you look at, it interacted with the nature of the earth, the energy of the earth. It was a beautiful thing.
I think there's plenty of evidence to show that our past civilizations had energy, and more than likely free energy. And then you got the airships. I mean, that have been out of some old photos. They've been taken out of the photos. I mean, I know. I don't know if you guys have watched the channel My Lunch Break. I think that's a pretty good channel. About the old buildings and everything like that. But I would say more than likely that was the Millennial Kingdom. But I mean, even if it wasn't, I mean, the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. What I forget the exact words, but what has been will be again, and that I forget where. It's either in the Bible or the Apocrypha. I read that that a civilization wouldn't remember the past, and the future civilization wouldn't remember like the present. You know what I mean? Like, I think the way I read it, I kind of understood that it would be like civilizations, like they would fall, and people from the new civilizations wouldn't remember. Like there would be a reset, basically. That's the way I took whatever where I was reading that, but I don't know. I just don't know. And if you go by the preterism belief, that all of Revelation happened, and there's some good evidence for that too. That because I mean, some of it could be like not taken literally, and then because I mean, really, death has been destroyed. I mean, to not physical death, you still physically die, but I mean, if you believe in Jesus, then you're saved. So you'll live forever. I don't know. There's a lot into it, and I mean, I go back and forth from the little season. For us being in a little season, I think there's a massive amount of evidence for that. And then sometimes preterism, which there are different sects of preterism. And then I also think maybe, something will happen in the future too. And that maybe it's like the end of the age there's different cataclysms. And then you also have the story of the white and the red dragon fighting every 500 years for control of, the red dragon would be a time of, bad things happening that we've currently been in, but that we're entering the white dragon era. I don't know. In the Apocrypha, there's a couple of places that talk about that. And then, there's just so much to it, and there's so much to get into, and there's a lot of stuff I don't remember now, because I kind of took a break from things. I'd have to reread some things. Let's play the next clip.
For a long time, I still kind of believe it, like the worst case scenario horror stories, things you see on Netflix documentaries and stuff like that. But let me know, any doctors, nurses, or anybody in the ER, come over here and let me know if this is an actual reality that we have to deal with as Americans. What's a conspiracy theory you believe with your whole heart? If you have organ donor on your driver's license and you're in an accident, the hospital will let you die or outright kill you to make money off harvesting your organs. I feel like I've seen enough on TV and enough scenarios where this could be real, like through stories and stuff like that, where it sounds plausible. Now, I don't think they will let you die. I don't think they'll outright kill you, but I do think that they won't do everything there is to do to save you. Like, they won't go to the ends of the earth to save you. That could be a possibility to this theory. I believe that could be a possibility. Now, is it true? I don't think so. I don't really 100% know. This seems very urban legendish, to be honest with you. I know nurses and doctors, and I've seen them work, and I know that they do the best they can when somebody comes in. But that organ donor on that card, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. I almost wanted to take it off my card when I renewed my license, because I don't know, man. I feel like those organs, the organs you have inside you, are extremely valuable, and I know they can save other people's lives. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think this is an actual real type of theory, or it has any truth to it or anything like that? Or do you think it's all false? Let me know in the comments.
I think that this probably does happen in some places. I don't think every hospital does this, no. But I wouldn't doubt, like, hospitals that are led by certain people from certain societies. I think to a degree probably do things like this. But, I don't know. Next clip.
Real. People don't want to believe it. They want us to think that it's climate change. They want us to think that all this global warming stuff is happening, but it's not. It's just weather control. They control the weather. The reason that they're doing this is when you control the weather, you control the population.
Yeah, I mean, it's about control. That's the main thing about all of it. Yep, they want to control, put in their passports to go certain places, not let you travel very far, not let off too much carbon dioxide when you drive. There's just so many different things I want to do. and I think citizens just need to say no. I think that millions and millions and millions need to stand up, and not in a violence or anything like that, but just a refusal, just no. Just like with property taxes should not exist. I mean, if you buy a home, you pay on that mortgage for 30 years, you pay off the house, but yet if you don't pay your property taxes, you can lose that house. No, that's wrong. And or registering your car every year, that's wrong. That shouldn't happen. You shouldn't have to. I mean, like, I don't even know if you really should have to register your car at all. But if at anything, one time, pay the sales tax or whatever and register it, and you should be good. You shouldn't have to do it every year. That's ridiculous.
Outside of Tromsø, the biggest hub type of thing, part of ASCAT system. This system going from Svalbard, Tromsø, Kiruna in Sweden has the headquarters of the whole system, and then in Lapland, in Finnish Lapland, in Sodankylä. And, when they blast electromagnetic fields, it goes through all of Europe.
And do you think that's a form of mind control?
Oh, it can be used for mind control, of course, like HARP. And that is the danger, because people know nothing about mind control. They don't know that your thoughts can be changed, your attitudes, your feelings. If you love somebody sitting at a computer, even through satellites, can say, okay, let's make it opposite. And you start just detesting the person who you love. You can't be in the same room, you feel uncomfortable. I think this is terrible, because you're making people into biological robots.
Follow for more.
I definitely think mind control is a thing. I think they can use certain frequencies to make you hear stuff, hear sounds. I think a lot of the underground digging also is a lot of them sky sounds. But with mind control, I think they can implant, like, through frequency or whatever. They can, put certain images in your head, or certain voices. I think some of these people that are schizophrenic or whatever, I think that could be a combination of things. I think it could also, it could be demons, in them. I think it could be, bad, like maybe when they're in their mother's womb, maybe she was affected by something, or maybe they're affected. I don't know. But I also think it could be, certain frequencies could have messed with them and set them off. I don't know. I know I've seen different videos about mind control, and I'm pretty sure that the government has patents on certain mind control things. I don't know. If you look at the patent website, there are so many, and especially for like weather modification, and I believe mind control too. I don't know. I'd have to look into that again, but yeah, I definitely think they can implant images in your mind, or just people. They could tell you a message, act like they're from God, or something like that. But I think if you hear God's voice, you know that it's God or not.
You see all of this and go, we just got to kind of connect back to this. And I've started to realize that, and this is kind of just my own theory on it, light bulbs are like portals. When you're exposed to a different light wave or a different frequency, you're almost portaling back into a different time in which those bulbs were always present. So, for example, in the time in which the quartz bulbs were all over the place, that's about the 1900s to 1910, that time, and carbon arc lamps as well, you're kind of portaling back into that. And I realized that that's how fast light can be transferred as messages. It's communication, just like the sun is communicating with us through light. So it gets wild when you get into all this. But yeah, when I read the tanning bed thing, I started laughing. I was like, oh, that makes sense now. That's why it went away. It's because it was actually, like you said, it was making people feel good. And then they're not going to be buying products that maybe are going to be sold to them to help improve their moods.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much thoughts on that one, but it's interesting.
Thing you hear today that the FBI had been researching and using mind-controlled Manchurian candidates in 1936, and I can prove it with their own documents. So let's jump into this nightmare fuel and see if you can sleep tonight. An American psychologist and expert on hypnosis. Well, the document states very clearly that Dr. Estabrooks countered with an ultimate proposition, suggesting that he arranged for the transfer of several unusually good hypnotic subjects to Washington, D.C. What Estabrooks was proposing is sending 3 people to the FBI that would be hypnotized by him and then passed off to the FBI to be used and implanted into criminal organizations as informers, and that these people would have 2 different personalities, one that would infiltrate and gather information, and the second would be their normal personality, and that these 2 personalities didn't know that the other existed. Estabrooks had gone back and forth with J. Edgar Hoover and officials at the FBI about this, and he had already found these 3 subjects. Estabrooks was demonstrating MK Ultra Manchurian candidates with altered personalities in 1936 to a representative from the FBI.
Yeah, I 100% think there are Manchurian candidates that, if people are put through enough abuse, they can develop a split personality, because they're trying to escape that abuse. That's what Satanists do to their children and people they're recruiting and whatnot. But the children, they have, the disassociate and they create another personality, and I think that's what happens to a lot of these like child actors and singers and stuff. And then they repeat everything and they do it to their children. It's a terrible thing. But yeah, I think the government, yeah, I'd say there's Manchurian candidates. Obviously, I don't know exactly how they do it, but I think there's just too much proof for a lot of this stuff. Anyways, that's the last clip I got. I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much, and God bless you and your families.